This is Beyond the Big Screen podcast with your host, Steve Guerra.
Here is another Beyond the Big Screen teaser for episodes coming soon. I hope you enjoy and definitely tune in for the full episodes. If you want to learn more, you can head over to beyondthebigscreen.com. You can support Beyond the Big Screen on Patreon and Subscribestar. By joining on Patreon and or Subscribestar, you can help keep Beyond the Big Screen going and get many great benefits. Benefits include advertisement-free content, bonus content, and early access. The bonus content is great too. I will feature outtakes from episodes and live streaming episodes. If you join at the executive producer level, you will become just that, an executive producer of Beyond the Big Screen. You will be able to develop ideas for upcoming episodes, help find great guests, and of course have your name mentioned at the beginning or end of each episode. You won't just be a supporter, you will be a critical member of the team. Go over to patreon.com/Beyond the Big Screen or subscribestar.com/Beyond the Big Screen to learn more. If you have any questions, comments, or feedback, send me an email to my email address, steve@a2zhistorypage.com, or follow us on social media by searching for A2Z History. I will see you next time Beyond the Big Screen.
Today, we have some bonus content and outtakes featuring fellow Parthen and podcast member Josh Cohen of the Eyewitness History podcast. Listen as Josh and Steve share thoughts about Tarantino, The Hateful Eight, and other topics. Let us know what you think and join the conversation.
Didn't he have kind of a break between Jackie Brown
Yep.
and Inglourious Basterds? It was quite a while between the two of them.
I think it was a break between, I may be wrong, I'll have to double check. I think it was a break between Jackie Brown and Kill Bill. Yeah, and he explained it to, I think it was Rogan, why that break was. I'd have to go back and check it out. And since we're off the record for a minute, just as a quick note, it's Walton Goggins, not Walter.
Oh, yeah. Why did it? We'll correct that.
My brain just flagged it. So sorry.
Oh, what was that? Yeah. And it might also be interesting to talk about. All of them. They were all up until this one from the Weinstein Company.
Yes. I think, was this the last one?
Yeah. I read that somewhere because the Once Upon a Time in Hollywood was not.
Right. Yep. Distributed by Weinstein. Yes. Perfect. Yeah. Final collaboration.
It's weird. The Weinstein brothers, they weren't from Buffalo where I'm from, but they went to college there, both of them, and they started off as concert promoters. So you run around all the time. People who knew Bob, I think they called him Corky, was what they called him, Bob Weinstein. And then, I even blanked out on his name, the bad one.
Harvey.
Everybody just knew them. You'd run into so many people, or they knew people who knew them. And then once they formed the film company, that's when they got huge.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. I wouldn't think of Buffalo for the Weinsteins.
They went to the university there, and I guess they just kind of got set up there, and that's where they did their concert promotion, which got them started. I think that's where they spun and got the money to do the films.
Interesting.
So much of the exposition, like you said, it's like you said, those bursts of dialogue, and so much that you get a read on a character. When they first meet Chris Mannix, that's another one before we even get to Minnie's haberdashery, that we meet these three main characters. They have that conversation in the stagecoach that it gets so heated, and then Mannix just backs off and he's like, "You got me talking about politics." Is he the full-throated Confederate racist, or is he kind of a phony and that's an act that he's putting on? I felt like that throughout the whole movie. He almost seemed like he was putting on a facade.
Golly. Well, I'm sure if you were to ask him, he would say it was genuine. Let's not forget his father, Erskine Mannix, was apparently a haunt for black people, certainly black soldiers. Later on, when we get to the haberdashery, Bruce Dern's character, General Sandy Don't Give a Damn Smithers, has a great respect for Erskine. So, and we know Bruce Dern is a in the die, grade A racist, of the most vehement and vile kind. Chris Mannix, I'd have to politely disagree. I never got the impression that he was phony or putting on a show or didn't actually believe what he was saying, or what he was thinking. Because let's not forget that line where he says, "You done got me talking politics." He also happens to have a revolver pointed right at his temple.
Yeah.
And it'd be the easiest thing ever to do away with the supposed sheriff and dump the body. So I think a lot of that was self-preservation.
For him, and it may be just be that Walton Goggins is such a great actor.
Oh yeah.
He seemed to, no matter who he was talking with, he would turn to be. So he had that Erskine Mannix connection with Smithers, and he really played that up. But then when Smithers is out of the picture, then he really plays it up with the next person and the next person. I felt like he was sort of a chameleon.
So yes, I can meet you on common ground here. So if I had to classify Mannix as one thing throughout the movie, I'd call him a saboteur. From the very beginning of the film, we see Major Warren and Chris Mannix as enemies, right? Major Warren's obviously the black Union officer. Mannix is a Confederate loyalist, to put it mildly. They're born and bred to be enemies. And throughout the film, there's a very obvious and noticeable contention with the two of them. Mannix spends time trying to turn the others against Warren. He alerts Sandy Smithers to who Warren is, which creates instant conflict, which we know how that ends. I'm sure we'll run through that. And then he also manipulates John Ruth in a strange way. He calls out the Lincoln letter as being, spoiler alert, he calls out the Lincoln letter as being counterfeit, and therefore causes the, up to that point, trust that had been built between Kurt Russell's character and Samuel L. Jackson's character to be broken. You'll recall what John Ruth says. It's true what they say about you people. We can't trust the thing that comes out of your mouth. Instantly destroyed. So yeah. Just to wrap it up, in my view, the best characterization of Chris Mannix would be as a saboteur.
I think you could really put it with the three of them. We think that Samuel L. Jackson's character, he's a hero. He's put on a pedestal, but then they start to chip away at his pedestal when he with little bits of his backstory that start leaking out, that it's none of it bolsters him, it all knocks him down. Where Mannix, I think he almost gets built up a little bit, and John Ruth stays pretty much flat the whole time, where I think he balances those out. He's never lied to anyone. He's played it straight the entire time. He wants to get his bounty to Red Rock. Yep. He's going to take control of the situation. He's going to take people's guns away from them. He's going to line people up in the wall, and nobody questions it. His character, I'm not saying that it was bad, flat. I think he was consistency, where Marquis Warren, Major Warren, and Mannix's characters, they fluctuated the whole time.
Yeah, that's a good point. Right, because you start off not really being sure of Major Marquis Warren, and then you hear about first off the crime that there's a flashback to, which we'll talk about. And then also there's a note that Chris Mannix says in this back in that stagecoach, that Warren's war record was stellar, and that's what saved his ass. Once again, a phenomenal example of just a ton of exposition. I mean, we know Mannix pretty much takes us completely through who Major Marquis is. And then at the very end, he says, well, you killed your share of, I won't say the word, but the Native Americans, of Indians. And then that was what what basically saved him from execution.
Maybe to get back into Mannix's character a little bit, why do you think he would have left South Carolina? He's one of Erskine Mannix's boys, and I wonder what would have happened that caused him to have to leave South Carolina or want. I mean, one or the other. Either he had to leave or he wanted to leave to go to Wyoming to be the sheriff. I think you got to kind of ask yourself that question.
Yeah, well, and as you point out, to go to Wyoming, I mean, how far away is that from South Carolina? That's not a hop and a skip, right? That's a great question, and I'm going to confess I haven't even thought about that until just now. Yeah, I have a feeling the answer is going to lie in the exposition now, in the backstory. Now, unfortunately, with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, we have the good fortune of looking forward to novelizations and an expansion of the universe, right? Whereas in this case, it's this one standalone movie, and that's all we get. I strongly suspect that there was some sort of a deed that Chris Mannix did in Red Rock, the city, of course, that he was to be elected sheriff and that put him in the good graces with the powers that be at Red Rock. So I gotta believe that there's just more backstory. Tarantino loves leaving just little kibbles and bits of expositional backdrop for us to just to get confused by and to tease us.
Yeah, I think that one's particularly interesting because what if he wasn't going to be the sheriff? What if we go against, because I kind of think he was the sheriff, but let's say somehow or another he was actually going, because there was still that bounty, or up to that point, a lot of people had been going to Wyoming to get Major Marquis.
Right.
What if he was going to go get Marquis and he just, when he gets picked up by the stagecoach, that plan all falls apart?
So it's kind of funny. I was thinking as you were talking that was possible, because even, and just to even sharpen your point a little bit more, Chris Mannix even says, I'll bet when the bounty was 5,000, you had your share of country boys coming to call, and Mannix, I don't think, would know that unless he was in the know, unless Mannix was in the know with where Major Marquis Warren was at. So yeah, I think I have a feeling one of us is right. I'll bet if we had Tarantino in a room and we could pull him and ask him, one of us is right. Actually, you know what? We're probably both right. Because even if it was Marquis Warren that and the bounty that enticed Mannix out to Wyoming, that still doesn't explain how he became sheriff of Red Rock or how he fostered those relationships.
Yeah, but do we have enough? What details did we have, that he actually was the sheriff? He knew some particular details, like you had mentioned, that probably leaned in that direction, that he was the sheriff.
He had the executioner's orders for Lance Lawson.
Yeah,
he had knowledge of them, first off. Which, by the way, I think there's a whole story there about how he would know who the person was. But I'm trying to think if there were any other clues. I think I feel like Tarantino keeps the curtain closed on this pretty well, because he doesn't. He speaks with absolute confidence about the fact that he became a sheriff. He says, once you get to Red Rock, you're going to realize everything I said was true. So it seems to me that Mannix would have been telling the truth. Beyond those two clues, I can't think of anything else. Maybe our listeners will be able to gut check us on this one.
I had my suspicions about Bob early on when Marquis and Bob were going back and forth in the barn, putting the horses away. Marquis had started dropping some clues that there was things that Bob didn't know about Minnie and Sweet Dave that somebody who was their employee should have known. And I think that maybe Warren was just thinking that out in his brain. But you kind of got the thing with the Warren. Is he a braggart? Is he saying his familiarity with Minnie and Sweet Dave to just kind of bump up his character, that, oh, I know everybody, I know Ruth, I know? Or was he really suspicious?
Yeah, him bragging, I think, would be fairly in line with the character as we know it up to that point. Well, actually, up to that point, we can't really be 100% certain about him on anything. So he could be a braggart as well as he could be anything else. Yeah, I guess I did have those sort of that sort of feeling as well in that barn. But I thought Bob saved it when he said, "Well, Minnie doesn't use a pipe; she rolls her own." As far as tobacco, and of course, this is where the infamous red apple tobacco makes its appearance. Manzana Roja is the cigar that Bob is smoking later on. So I thought he saved it that way. After all, how could Bob possibly know that Minnie rolls her own? And then, of course, that's shown in the flashback scene that you mentioned.
Talking about his character, one of the fun facts that I saw a couple of different sources is when Domergue is playing she's playing a really beautiful song on a guitar, and Ruth grabs the guitar and smashes it. And apparently that was a classical guitar from the 1860s that was worth it. I don't know if it was several 6 figures. It may have even been into the millions.
I heard various numbers. I heard numbers as low or as high, depending how you want to look at it, as $40,000, which is damn sure good enough for one guitar. Yes. I right when you said Domergue singing the song, I knew what you were going to say. Yeah. And so the story goes, I think it was Martin Guitar Company. Martin leased out or loaned out the guitar to the studio. And yeah, Kurt Russell as John Ruth grabs a guitar, and it was basically improv. I guess it didn't say in the script that he was supposed to smash the guitar, and he does. And actually, if you watch the movie, you'll notice Jennifer Jason Leigh as Daisy Domergue. She kind of looks off screen. You can see it. She goes, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like you see her look off screen. And she kept it tight. She kept it in character. I think that could have been fixed with just a close up of John Russo. You don't see her looking off screen, but it did look enough. It did look organic and natural enough that it could have been just part of Daisy Domergue's reaction. But yeah, I laughed very hard when I read that, because my first thing was, wait a minute. So you're telling me that everyone on set knew that it was a real guitar except for John Ruth, or except for Kurt Russell? Because Russell, apparently he thought it was just a prop.
I wonder too. They said somebody had said, and it's hard to really know what to believe or not, but they said everybody looked over and saw Tarantino smirking, and you almost wonder if he set up, go ahead to Kurt Russell and go and do something shocking in the scene, or ad lib something, knowing that you get such a reaction out of everyone on the set who knew that this was a historical artifact.
Yeah, maybe,
because so why use that?
Right. So it's like maybe he was pulling a Stanley Kubrick a la The Shining of inflicting some sort of real element into the thing. Yeah, your guess is as good as mine on that one. I wouldn't put it past Tarantino. If for no other reason, I gotta believe he has a fairly sick sense of humor. And at the end of the day, I mean, we're talking Kurt Russell, we're talking the Weinsteins, we're talking Tarantino. How much is $40,000 really at the end of the day? Yeah. I mean, I'm sure to Tarantino, if it means getting a good reaction out of the characters and making the movie even this much better, or that scene even that much better, I'm sure he would have done it.
What do you think the purpose of that scene was? Was it just gratuitous? Was it because Smithers really was just a prop? Did they have to kill him off in some way? Was that just the whole thing of that was just a kind of the over the top way to make him make his exit?
I personally think so. Because if you take Smithers out of it, the movie doesn't change at all. Though I will say this, it does add a bit of exposition, and it does put you in a position to sympathize more with Major Warren by making such a despicable character like Smithers. I mean, you're cheering when he finally shoots Sanders, even though it's shown that that Warren also attacked his son, to put it to euphemize it.
I was wondering though, and I think Warren maybe did kill his son, but was he telling him that story telling Smithers that story to provoke him into attacking him so that he could kill him. And that because of all that frontier justice thing that Oswaldo had talked about, and that if, you kill him, what was it? What did Oswaldo say? Something.
You kill him and I guarantee I will see you hung by the neck until you're dead.
Yeah, but if he falls down the stairs, if you push him down the stairs, then and I think that's, he had to do that to provoke Smithers to kill him.
Yep. Well, and that motive is set up, in my opinion, very clearly, because he puts the gun. If you remember, he gives Smithers the gun.
Mm-hmm.
It was very clearly a provocation. I don't doubt that it was true, though, because what I would say is, how else would he know that Smithers' son was dead, and that's why he was in town? It could be explained that he overheard Smithers saying this to Chris Mannix. I'm trying to remember if Warren is in the room when he says that, or if he's still putting the horses away with Bob.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And to see if maybe he killed him, but he added all those extracurricular activities.
Right.
I never really thought of that, but Smithers has to be taken out at some point. There's no way Smithers can remain in the end.
Yeah. So, and also, I mean, lowest common denominator argument, it could definitely be just more gratuity. I mean, if it was any director other than Tarantino, Tarantino loves his gratuity, but he also loves being very precise. He is sort of the Kubrick school in terms of precision, and everything has a reason, like we discussed in the last podcast. Everything's done for a reason, I mean to say. And Tarantino is, I think his best attribute as a director is to just keep us guessing and leave us wanting more.